I because Mike McDaniel was so bad, I was impressed with Mike Tomlin last night, and because Aaron Rodgers was so good, I was impressed with Mike Tomlin last night. Skap, I'm gonna let you attack and fire back. Am I crazy?
Yeah, stunning win last night, Jason. Stunning. They beat the juggernaut Miami Dolphins. It was about 12 degrees in that game last night. Tua has never won a game in his entire professional career where the kickoff temp is below 40. So the Dolphins, yeah, that was a shocking, stunning win last night, Jason. I got to give that to you. And Mike McDaniels, a guy who many thought wouldn't make it out of the first month with his job this season, is making Mike Tomlin look good. Great, stunning points by you. I must admit.
Aaron Rodgers went 23 of 27, and there were signs of hope that this offense has finally figured some things out, and Mike Tomlin gets no credit for that.
Well, while we're giving Tomlin credit though, let's bring some context here. They're gonna make the playoffs at 8-6 because their division is lousy. Lamar Jackson missed like 4 games. The Ravens have fallen off a cliff. Joe Burrow missed 9 or 10 games. The Bengals have fallen off a cliff. And then the other team in there are the Browns. Enough said with your boy Shador. That division stinks. So the reason the Steelers are gonna get in the playoffs in the first
Hold
place
on.
is
Do we have a
because
bad connection? Do we have a
stinks.
bad connection? Because the question I asked Scap was Aaron Rodgers looked really good last night, 23 or 27. They figured some things out offensively. Does Mike Tomlin get any credit for that? Now, go back into your rant, but at some point answer that question. Go ahead.
Are you asking me if Mike Tomlin gets credit for a four-time league MVP in Aaron Rodgers playing football at a high level? I'm gonna have to say definitively no to that. I'm gonna give Aaron Rodgers the credit for Aaron Rodgers. Again, four-time league MVP Aaron Rodgers looking good last night. Let's see what Mikey T can do, the defensive genius that he is. Let's see how he can run that defense into the playoffs because look, you said it. They're probably going to get the Bills. I would estimate they're going to play the Bills in the first game, and it's probably going to be definitely going to be in Pittsburgh. If they luck out and get the Chargers, Tomlin might actually end this national nightmare of a decade winless streak in the playoffs because the Chargers are going to have to go to Pittsburgh. Despite real quick sidebar rant right now, Jason. Despite the fact, why do these teams have to go on the road to these middling teams that win these garbage divisions? It doesn't make any sense. The bum ownership have to stop being cowards and vote through. It was up for rules change. It was up for the vote with the rules committee. The ownership didn't ratify it. That your division win doesn't get you home field advantage because why should you be rewarded? Why is a team like the Bills or the Chargers going to have to go through a harder division, playing a harder schedule, and then go on the road in the playoffs to play in Pittsburgh? It makes no sense. Even with Tomlin getting that baked in advantage, though, from being in his middling, lousy division, he's still likely going to get boat raced by the Buffalo Bills in that first game. Watch and see, Jason.
I don't. I want to these young guys to. I want to educate them on what you just heard, Luke Payton. Do you understand why he went off on this sidebar to distract from the actual question and point that I made? And he has to now. They division winners have been getting home playoff games. I think since the beginning of the NFL. This is no. You talk about something not being a mystery. These are the rules, and we're not going to overturn them. And what he also slipped in there was that hey, he somewhat expects Tomlin to win a playoff game because he thinks they play the Chargers. Tomlin will beat the Chargers and Jim Harbaugh, who has a hell of a reputation as a coach. You're put. Look, I'm not a huge Tomlin fan. Everybody knows that. I don't. But the only point I'm making, did Skap see my
I,
hope
I was on
and
your open, yeah.
did you see my hope and unchanged graphic? What I'm saying is like what all I'm saying is that Mike Tomlin has provided a tiny bit of hope with last night's performance, with the energy they played with, the way they shut down that Miami offense and Tua Tagovailoa, and the way the offense played this game well was kind of a fascinating, piece to go along with, obviously, DK Metcalf. I thought they found some things in the passing game, and maybe Miami's just complete garbage, but I thought they found some things in the passing game that will apply to the rest of the season. And Shaq, we will do this next Monday or Tuesday after they play the Lions. If they beat up the Lions this coming week, would you have to admit, hey, this is coming to a positive? The season's ending on the regular season's coming to a positive conclusion. No.
Jason, this is fool's gold. It happens every year. For the last decade, this guy wins more games than he's expected in the regular season. Therefore, we continue to live in this mindset, which you talked about in your open. Well, what happens if we move on and it doesn't go well? We could do a lot worse than Mike Tomlin. But let me just present this to you because you brought up the Philadelphia Eagles. Let me take that case, that kind of topic real quick. They fired Andy Reid, who, for all intents and purposes, is a better coach. Resume point stacked for resume point. He's better than Mike Tomlin.
At this point, that's accurate. But he left there without a Super Bowl victory. But go ahead, Skap.
But they fire a legendary, like a Hall of Fame coach in Andy Reid. They move on.
He was not a Hall of Famer when he left Philadelphia, but continue.
I think you can make a case that he was. If you look at his tenure with the Philadelphia Eagles and all that he achieved.
Give me the comparable. Give me the coach that's in the Hall of Fame that never won a Super Bowl. Is Don Coryell? Eric Coryell? I don't think so.
All right, if you want a look, I can do a Super Bowl for Super Bowl comp in the fact that Mike McCarthy has been fired from 2 jobs, Jason, and he has an identical resume to Tomlin. Their win record is identical in the regular season. They have an identical playoff record. McCarthy won a Super Bowl against Mike Tomlin head to head. He's been fired from 2 jobs in the span of time that Mike Tomlin has not been. But real quick on the Philadelphia point. They fire Reid. They get Doug Peterson. Peterson goes on and wins their first Super Bowl ever, Jason, ever. In the entire modern era, since the AFL-NFL merger, the Philadelphia Eagles, a moribund loser franchise, had 0 Super Bowl championships. Doug Peterson goes on, wins them their first in spectacular fashion with a backup quarterback against Tom Brady and Bill Belichick in a shootout. And then the Eagles were so eternally grateful that they fired Doug Peterson 3 years later after he got them that Super Bowl. They move on to Nick Sirianni. And guess what, Jason? Now Nick Sirianni won them a Super Bowl because you have to be both. Fortune favors the bold. You have to... Look, the goal isn't to win half of your games or to make the playoffs. It's to win Super Bowls. One final real quick point with John Fox of the Denver Broncos in the early 2000s. This guy won a division in his first year as the head coach there with Tim Tebow as the starter. They went 8-8. He won the AFC West, and they beat Mike Tomlin in a playoff game with Tim freaking Tebow as the QB. That summer, Peyton Manning comes in. They go 13-3, 13-3, 12-4. That's 4 straight years for John Fox. 4 division crowns, 2 AFC championship berths, 1 Super Bowl appearance, and guess what happened at the end of that 4th year at 12-4? Fired, because the goal wasn't to be competitive. The goal was to win Super Bowls. So they bring in Kubiak, they win a Super Bowl because fortune favors the bold. The Steelers they're not being courageous in making these changes. They're living in the past. And they're going to continue to lose as long as they employ Mike Tomlin. I'm not doubting that he's a great coach and like 26 other teams would be tripping over themselves to get him. But it ain't it in Pittsburgh anymore. The message is stale. He hasn't won a playoff game in 10 years, and it's time to move on.
Skap, that was good. That was good. I kind of regret inviting you on to discuss this, but I'm just Skap, this will be potentially the first time in 5 years that they've won 11 games. They went 12-4 in 2020. And I know that's, yeah, I regret even making this point because you've already covered this. Let me just, well, I've already asked the Detroit Lions question, but I am going to go back to it again. If he won 2 playoff games this season, if he won 2 playoff games this season, would you adjust your opinion?
Me personally, again, I think it's time to move on. I don't know why this guy wants to stay there. He is getting absolutely dragged by the local media and the fans there. I don't know why he wouldn't just sit back and say, hey, I'm Mike Tomlin. I have 25, 26 other organizations that would be falling all over themselves for me. I'll show them it's time for me to get a change. To me, even if he gets into the AFC Championship game, I'm ready to sever ties with this guy. But to your point, if he gets into the AFC Championship game, there's no way they're getting rid of him. If he wants to stay, and if he wins 2 playoff games, he'll probably get an extension in the offseason this season. So yeah.
Skap, there's very few arguments that I have to admit in real time that I lost, but I lost this argument, and I kind of regret challenging. It would be like if you challenged me on the Indiana Pacers. I'm a lifelong Pacer fan, and that wouldn't go well for you. If you challenged me about Ball State, I mean, I would just and I've challenged you about the Pittsburgh Steelers and Mike Tomlin, and I've lost.